99X. It's Barnes and Leslie. Yes, marriage, a beautiful thing. Unless you no longer want to be married, and that's why we have Jared Oxendine on, because he plays to win. Hello, Jared.
Good morning, X. Excited to be back with y'all this morning.
You are just a bundle of energy and positivity. If I were getting divorced, I would go to Jared Oxendine. I would. But I'm not, Jared. No money coming from me.
Well, part of my excitement might be that, I'm finally taking some of my own advice for a change, and I'm actually going on a trip with my wife, just me and her alone. We're leaving on Saturday, and we're going to Punta Cana, and so we're going to take an opportunity to reconnect. I tell people all the time, you got to make time for just you and your spouse to kind of drown out the noise, get away from the kids, get away from work, and just reconnect. And that usually works. It makes for a successful marriage. So far, so good for me, at least.
Jared, every time you were on this show, I feel like we're at a revival, Barnes.
He's
so
up in
positive.
There. The good news is, though, if you do get a divorce, dude, it's free. So you'll be, no problem.
Well, something I need to stay away from. I was researching this resort, and apparently, the beach next to us is like a nude beach, clothing optional, right? And my experience with those, it's ironic, right? You go to those thinking you're going to see something exciting, and it ends up being all the people that you'd prefer not to see on the beach. So as long as I stay away from that side of the resort, I'll probably be okay.
Jared, I have a question to ask you, though. Have you ever come across, I'm sure, people ask for the strangest things in a divorce. It's like, I want this or I want that. What are some of the more unusual things that people ask for?
Yeah, good question. So we actually had a recent case where the wife, I represent the husband in this case, but the wife was just obsessed with making sure that, she got all the holiday decorations, and it was on every settlement exchange for the last 5 exchanges. So ultimately we agreed she could have them. So fast forward, long story short, the wife had pre-packed everything, and she had labeled, all the boxes for all the belongings that were in the house. And she opened up the box. It was labeled Halloween decorations, with excitement, thinking, hey, I won. I got the Halloween decorations. And she opened it, and much to her amazement and surprise, it was all of her husband's old T-shirts and holy underwear and boxers, and she had mislabeled. She mislabeled the boxes. Guess who got the Halloween box? It was mislabeled husband's T-shirts. Husband got it. So that's actually pretty funny.
Well, what happens then? If it was a mislabel error on her part, does he just keep the Halloween stuff?
Yeah, what are you going to do at this point? Say, hey, I mislabeled the box and you just give me back all the stuff that I gave you? I think there was a provision in the settlement agreement. We didn't realize at the time there's a provision in the settlement agreement that says both sides relinquish any claim that they have to the possessions that are in the other party's possession. All the personal belongings are in the other party's possession. So she'd already given it to him. She mislabeled it. It was in his possession. She had relinquished her claim. And this obviously is something silly to argue over. Don't spend your money, by the way, with your divorce attorney arguing back and forth over the Halloween decorations. But it's just funny because it was so important to her, and she mislabeled and ended up with his old T-shirts. You can't make this stuff up.
That is funny. OxLawFirm.com, by the way, if divorce is creeping into your brain this Halloween season. Okay, let's go deeper. I have a question that people who get divorced, so they still have needs. You know what I'm saying? They have needs.
Like needs.
They have physical needs.
Real needs.
What is your take on people in the process of divorce who continue to hook up, a.k.a. have sex after filing?
Ooh.
Well, here's a problem with that, right? So technically, once a divorce has been filed, you are now beginning the process of separating, and it technically is okay to start dating at that point. The problem is, let's say that you're in a contested situation and the spouse is already upset emotionally with you. Maybe they don't want the divorce. Maybe they don't trust you. Maybe they think you've been running around on them the entire marriage, which maybe you have been. But you start this new relationship, they're not going to think you just started it after you filed for divorce. They're going to automatically assume that you've been dating this person for years or months before the case was even filed. And that just makes things more complicated. It makes it harder to resolve the case. We're going to be having allegations of adultery. And then one side's going to say, I should get more of the assets because the reason for this divorce is because you've been cheating on me. So my advice always is, don't start dating until after we get the case finalized. But if you can't help it, it technically is okay. Do whatever you can so that if the question comes up, keep whatever documentation evidence you've got to show that this actually started after the divorce was filed, or better yet, just kind of keep it a secret, right? People have big mouths and they put things on social media and they put it all out there for the world to see. If you're in that type of situation, you might want to try and keep it under wraps and not let the other side find out about it.
Okay, you have ESP because that was going to be my second question. You didn't pick up on my question. The actual question, I'm talking about the actual two people who are going through the divorce, them hooking up while the proceedings are going.
Yeah, has that happened to you?
Okay. I did miss the question, so we're going to get a 2-for-1. And actually, I'm glad you asked that because it leads me to a funny story. And y'all are going to love this story. But technically, if you're going through divorce and you have sex with your spouse while the case is pending, it is grounds for dismissal. And I've seen that happen because the premise of the divorce is that the marriage is irretrievably broken and there's no hope for reconciliation. That's actually one of the statutory requirements. So if you have sex with your spouse and then let's say it goes south, they thought, hey, we're getting back together, this is going to work out, and then something happens and it goes south, the other side can actually file a motion to dismiss with the court, and the court would have to grant the dismissal. Now, Funny story. We were having a mediation in my office, and husband was here, wife was here. They both had attorneys. And during the middle of the mediation, I guess they were texting each other, and both parties came to the attorney and said, hey, do you mind if we speak with each other in private? I happened to have an extra office that day because one of the attorneys was not in the office. I said, sure, let me lead you down the hallway. Here's the office. It's all yours. I shut the door. Okay. 10 minutes later, we hear some boots knocking. The walls are kind of shaking a little bit. We hear some clapping sound going on, and we're all looking at each other with big eyes, and we're like, oh my gosh, they are really reconciling back there. And so we did not interrupt them. And 5-10 minutes later, they both opened the door. They walked out of the hallway. It's like the walk of shame from college. They both have big smiles on their face, and they're like, could we dismiss our case, please?
No way.
So we don't just divorce people at Oxendine Law. We can actually reconcile your marriage and bring you back together. How about that?
And did you sue them for the mess they left in your office?
Well, needless to say, the attorney that was not there that day was not happy the next morning when we told him what happened, and he immediately went to the supply cabinet and got the Windex out and the spray and was feverishly, wiping down his desk. But it's wild, and it's a true story.
That is unbelievable.
Ooh.
Wow. There you go. So if you want a divorce or just a room, oxlawfirm.com is where you can find Jared Oxendine. He can help you with all sorts of things. Jared, it's always fun having you on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Appreciate y'all. See you next time.
The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. 99X.